Hello, hi, I am Opal Mitchell. I work for the Nixon Library in Jacksonville. We're part of the Central Arkansas Library System. I'm the assistant manager there and the adult programmer. And this is my Crafting with Opal program that I do on Thursday nights at 7. Tonight we're going to do kind of a mixed media type program, and I just realized I'm not wearing my microphone. You may probably can hear me just fine. I think last time I realized y'all could hear me just fine without it. But there we go. I'm gonna be showing you how to do a mixed media type painting this time. The background's gonna be you're going to use acrylic paint to paint the background and paint the tree and so forth. And then after you get done with that, we'll decorate the tree with buttons. The original one that I made, I used some 3D paint. I think it's Puffy is the company that makes it, but they make some 3D paint. I was just looking at it to see what it would look like. You can buy that from Walmart. The person I got the idea from a website that I looked at that had done a 3D painting, well, multimedia type painting. They did the painted the tree and then used the 3D paint to give it kind of I guess more of a three-dimensional look beyond just putting the buttons on it. I tried that with mine. It's not real visible on mine, so I'm not going to really suggest that you necessarily use it. It's something that can be added later. You don't have to do it. And I'm not really going to show you because it's really easy. I mean, if you do want to add that to it, you just can't see it real well, and that's why I decided that that's not something I was going to show how to do this time. If you want to, play with it and see what you think, you might be able to find some different colors that will show up better than mine. The colors I used were black and brown, and they just kind of blended in with the tree and didn't show up. And then the grass, I did it too, and it also didn't really show up real well. So I'm just going to show you how to do the acrylic paint background and the grass and the tree, and then I'll show you how to place your buttons on your tree. And I have a dog fussing at me over here wanting me to pet her. But I'm not going to show you the whole process of gluing the buttons to it because that's pretty simple. You'll be able to do that on your own once you see how to place the buttons on there. Let me turn this around and I'm going to show you the one I did previously. Oh, there's my blank canvas. But let me get the other one down. And I did this one on a much larger canvas than what I'm going to be showing you how to do. Well, not much. It's just a little bit bigger. You can kind of see the 3D paint a little bit. And there's some in it. If the light hits it just right, you can kind of see it on there. But I don't think it's necessarily, something that you would have to do. And it's just, if you do decide to do it, I'm going to bring it a little closer so you can kind of see. You just do streaks of it and kind of alternate it. If you've got a lighter brown, that would be great. The paint I found at Walmart only came in a dark brown and a dark black. The website I got the idea from, she had some other colors that looked really cool that showed up. And if I hold it really close, you can see the 3D paint on this too. But like I said, that's going to be something you can do optional if you want. I'm going to grab this real quick so I can show you where I got the original idea from. I thought it was pretty neat. I liked the way that she did it, but you could kind of see she used some white paint, it looks like, to streak through there. I decided not to do that. I had white paint, but I didn't know if I'd like it or not, so I didn't try it on mine. I think it looked pretty cool on hers, and she spray painted her background with blue and then some other colors at the top. I wanted to do acrylic paints throughout the entire thing because that's something I'm more comfortable with. Hi, Susie. Let's see. Oh, I forget. I need to actually keep track of who's watching. That's pretty cool. I like the way they did it. And see, the way they did their tree is quite a bit different than the way I did my tree. So, you know, there's a lot of different ways. Oh, there's Mitzi. Hi, Mitzi. So you can see that the way I do my tree is not necessarily the way, because the way they did theirs was different. So, and here's another one. I mean, there's just, you can kind of put your own twist on how you want your tree to look. And the best thing to do when it comes to buttons is you can go to Walmart and just get a big bag of mixed buttons. Hey, Missy. So that's what I did. This is like a package. I think I got that one from either Walmart or Joann's. And then Walmart sells big, huge bags of multicolored buttons that kind of have a certain color scheme to them. The ones I'm going to use tonight are more pastel colors. So this one's going to look a little bit different than my first one. This one, because it was such a big canvas, I didn't realize. I just thought I needed a big canvas, but you don't necessarily need a real big one. This one took a lot longer. It took me like an hour and a half just to paint it, and then that wasn't counting the 3D paint I used on it and then the buttons. So I went down in size on the canvas this time to cut down on the time so it wouldn't take quite as long. So we're going to get started. The idea for painting the background I actually got from the Art Sherpa YouTube channel or her website, either one. She's done a lot of trees, and the one that I kind of based this one off of is one that she did, like this one right here. And so I liked the way she did the background, and that's the way I did mine. And her grass looks a little bit nicer than mine, but this was a Q-tip thing that she had done, and I just kind of liked the way the background looked, so I thought, yeah, I'm gonna use that as my idea of how I'm gonna do my background. So I haven't placed any of my paint down yet, so I'm gonna get a little bit. We're gonna start out with working with the background colors, which to get the color I want, I'm going to do some phthalo blue and some phthalo green mixed together, like equal amounts of both mixed together. So let me put those down real quick. So, and I'll show you. You can use any blue and green together. You don't have to use that particular kind that I'm using. Oops. Trying to get my paint to come out. Alright. So, and I'm reusing a palette that I've already used. So, I'm just going to show you. I've got my green and my blue, and I try to get the same amount, and I'm just going to mix those together. And I've got one of these little knives to paint it to mix it together. It's a little bit easier than having to use your paintbrush and then getting paint all over your paintbrush and then having to clean it. So I'm just mixing those together. And to get a good mix, you just mix the same amount of both colors together. Probably can't see what I'm doing really well because I'm using a palette that I've previously used. It just dried up on it, and I thought, I'll just use what I've already got instead of getting a new one, which might make it kind of hard to tell what I'm doing. Okay, so I got that mixed together, and then I'm just going to use my large flat brush here. It's a 30 Bright. Just recently got this one. It's a new one, and it won't take too long to paint the canvas with that. But what I'm going to do is, I want to get this paint off of my palette knife, so I'm going to brush it off with my brush. And then rinse my palette knife off in the water here. Okay, I'm done with the palette knife. Okay, so I got a little bit of paint. I'm going to get a little bit on both sides. And I think I'm going to get just a little bit of white too. So you can see I got more blue than I do white. And I'm just going to start with the top half here. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do this without hitting the... I'm trying to paint around this. I'm going to stand up because I want to get closer to this. So I'm just doing, you can do just straight back and forth. I'm doing kind of what you call like a little bit of a smiley face, where I'm doing it kind of curved. And you're just wanting to cover up your palette here, or canvas. Palette. I'm tired. I'm really tired. Okay. And I'm just painting the top a little bit here too. I'm not going to be real pretty with that because it doesn't really matter. It's the top. So I'm going to continue doing this kind of curved look here. And try to do your brush strokes all the way across, because if you stop in the middle, you'll get like a break where you can see the brush stroke there. And as I go down, I'm going to do my sides a little bit too, which I think I'm running out of paint. So let me get some more. I'm going to load up my paintbrush some more, and then I'm gonna get a little more white this time. That was a big glop. You can kind of see. Oops, I'm sorry, didn't quite have it in there. You can see, but I'm trying to add more white as I go, so I can get lighter. Try to blend. And try to paint the side here a little bit as I'm going. And my arm's probably in the way. I'm just painting the side of the canvas. Let's see. No, I'm not. Now that I'm looking, I am not painting the side of it like I thought I was, because I couldn't see what I was doing. Oops, sorry. Alright, so I'm going to make sure. There we go. And so I'm going to continue to pick up some, oof. Let's see. And I'm going to try to get a little more white onto my paintbrush. This is such a long paintbrush, I'm really having a hard time. The handle is really long, so I'm having a really hard time not hitting the camera. I guess I could set the camera further back. Let's see. Let's try that. Because I am just doing the background, so it's not like you need to be really close to seeing how to do the background. Go ahead and get the sides of this real quick. I typically forget to do the sides, and you don't have to. It's not a requirement. It's just if something you like to do whenever you're painting. Then, and I got some on my hands because I touched the canvas. Woo! Now it's moving on me. I should put that little thing down to hold it in place. So now I'm just gonna, since there's a lot of blue already on my white, I'm just gonna pick up white a little bit of white. Let's see if I can. And I think I'm going to move, I have the other one laying on top. I'm going to move it off to the side because I'm afraid that's going to topple over into the floor while I'm doing this. Okay, it looks like I need more paint. And I'm really just going to grab more white and see how it looks instead of getting some of my blue and see, because I'm just trying to, wow, you are moving a lot. Let's see here. I'm going to try moving this down. Oh no, it's not tall enough for that. Let's see. Let's see. Maybe if I sit it on top like that. There we go. That's much better. And I'm really not going to worry a whole lot about the bottom because we're going to be putting grass at the very bottom. So not a huge deal. I'm going to get a little bit of water. When you get a little bit of water on your paintbrush, you barely want to dip it in to the end to get the tip wet. And I'm going to do that and just get more of my white, just to thin it out a little bit, because I'm still working on the bottom. I didn't get that curved look like I wanted. I am going to cover up the sides because I don't know how. I know I'm going to have grass at the very bottom, but on the sides a little bit of my sky might show. Okay. I like that, but I want to add more white. I want some streaky white. So for kind of a look of clouds. So I'm going to continue to just kind of do some streakiness here with my white. And dab just a tiny bit of water on my paintbrush to give and I think I'm about done with my background. For some reason, I have a lot of my canvas showing through over here. So I'm going to cover that up and then do some more. Okay, so I'm going to step away. Alright, I kind of like that, but my top doesn't have much of that kind of streaky look to it, so I'm going to finish that up a little bit. Wow, that's weird how on camera the white doesn't show up as much as it does for me. It looks a lot lighter to me than it does to you guys. Let's see. Let me see if I move it up closer. Nope, it still just looks all blue. Okay. Well, that's just the way it looks sometimes on camera. It looks differently than it does in person. I have a lot more white on there than what you guys can see. Alright, I'm happy with my blue sky. So that's all I'm going to be using this big brush for. So I'm going to take my water and I'm going to rinse it out really good because you don't ever want to leave your brushes sitting around with a bunch of paint on them, and you don't want to leave your brushes just sitting in there like that either. That's really bad for your brushes. So be sure to rinse it out really good. And You don't have to get all the paint out, but just try to get it as best as you can. And then I'm going to just kind of wipe the excess water off and lay it off to the side until I can actually clean it. Because the big brushes are, just use like an old towel, like so, to wipe the excess off. And then just lay it off to the side until you can actually clean it with some soap. I buy, let's see, do I have some here? I'll show you guys. There's several different things that are good. This is really good. I get this off of, my name's written on it, off of Amazon. I haven't ever seen this in Joann's or Michael's or Hobby Lobby before. Now this one you can find in Hobby Lobby. It's a good one too. This one's like a dryer type one. It cleans brushes too, but it's a good one for conditioning the bristles after you've cleaned them. You can use it to clean it too, but I feel like this one does a little bit better job of getting all of the paint out of your brushes. I use it to initially clean it, and then I use the other one to kind of leave on my bristles when they dry, because it gives them a better look. It helps stick the brush together where it holds its shape better after it dries. Alright, I'm going to go ahead. Oh, Lisa's watching. Hey, Lisa. I'm going to blow dry. I apologize, it's going to be noisy. I'm going to blow dry my background because the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw an outline of my tree and my where my grass is going to be. And then we'll paint them. So do this. And don't ever use a hot blow dryer. Turn on like the part that does the cool part, because you don't want a hot iron or blow dryer on your canvas. Let's see. Okay, I believe that looks good. Alright, now I'm going to kind of outline where, I'm going to move this a little bit closer. I'll tilt. Let's see. Wow. Alright. Tilt a little bit where you can see the bottom. Okay, so this is the bottom, and the way that, let's see, kind of get an idea. I'm going to start it at the corner and just do like a little hill, and then have it go down at the bottom on that side. So this is where my little grassy hill is going to be. And then for the tree part, you just kind of draw an outline of where you want your tree to be. And I like mine to have a little bit of a curve to them. Alright, so that's kind of a, not quite a U shape, but it's a U shape. And then just kind of basically, ooh, that's not showing up, where you want your different branches to go. When you do one branch on this side, don't have another one directly off to the next. You want it to be either down further or up. So and that one. Let's see here. Okay. And then you want to leave room to be able to draw different little branches off. You can do tinier, smaller branches off of it later on. You don't have to draw them right away. Like, I'll have a lot more smaller branches coming from it. These are just kind of an outline of basically how I want it. Wow, There's a certain part of this thing that does not like me to draw. Okay. And I want to go as close to the end of the canvas as possible. You want to fill in. Let's see. Okay. Almost like I need a middle. And that's really big. All right. Sometimes I just don't. Boy, that part of the chalk does not want to do anything for me. Keeps not drawing whenever I use that part. Okay, and I feel like that's kind of empty over there. I might have to just draw a little bit on my own since my chalk is acting weird on me. Okay, I've got some general outlines here. Alright, so there's my basic outline of my tree. Alright, so once you get the basic outline drawn in with your chalk, you're going to, let's see here, we want to mix together some black and brown paint, so I'm going to get my black and brown paint and put it on my palette here. Let's see. Okay, so there's some brown. Okay, you're going to have a hard time seeing this, but I just basically put a little bit of brown, because this is an old one, and a little bit of black, and I'm going to take, let's see if I can find it, my larger round brush here. I'm going to get it wet, and I have two things of water off to the side, a clean one and a dirty one, and so I'm using my clean water to get my brush wet. And always try to, once you've gotten it wet, to drag off the excess on the side here. You don't want it super wet. Okay, and so I'm going to take a little bit of black. I don't know how dark I want it. And then I'll get some of my brown and mix it together. I'm going to mix it in this blue area, this old paint that's dried up, so you can see. See, it'll make it pretty dark, so I'm going to, oh, yeah, that's not the best way to do it, but I did it. It makes my brown over there kind of muddy, because I dipped it while it had black paint on it. Okay, which I'm just going to move that over here, because this is, I want this all to be my black and brown paint. And you're going to need quite a bit, I guess, really, because you're going to be painting in your tree. Okay, so I'm kind of twisting my brush to kind of keep it, have a little tip to it. Alright, so you're just going to start off drawing your trunk, and then deciding how wide you want it to be. You want to start off kind of small, because you can always make your trunk bigger. It's always better to start off small and make it bigger later on. Mine looks way too tiny right now, but like I said, you can make it bigger as you go. And I'm going to get more paint. Let's see. So just draw in your trunk first, and then you can go to the painting in the limbs after you get the trunk done. And then I'm getting a little bit of the chalk on my brush when I'm brushing over it, so it's oops. It almost looks black on the camera here instead of brown, but it's a really dark brown is what it is. Let's see, I'm going to bring, it's hard painting from that far away, so I'm going to bring a little bit closer and then move the camera so you can see what I'm doing. Because, oh, that's much better. Because I couldn't see what I was doing, it was so far away from me. And I was trying to keep the entire canvas in the shot so you guys could see the whole thing, because I knew I'd be moving a lot. But that's all you need to do right now. Oh, thank you, Terry. Let's see. Oops. And this, I have these really, these paintbrushes have really long handles to them, so I'm constantly, now, it seems like banging them up against the camera while I'm painting, which is kind of funny. That one's going to just kind of go off the canvas a little bit. That's okay. And I feel like it needs a branch here too. So I'm going to add a branch. And that's the great thing about it. As you're painting, you can always add more. With the trees, I probably should switch to a smaller brush to do this, but I haven't. Now you would probably, I noticed whenever, in the beginning, whenever I first started painting, that when I used the cheaper paintbrushes, like the student ones, these are more of the professional type ones, I got some for my birthday, I would always have to switch to the smaller paintbrushes way before I got to the small stuff, because you didn't have as much control over your lines with the bigger brush, which I think I need to stick with just the bigger one for now, and then once and mine's another thing I noticed too, if you're painting along here and your paint is not gliding over the canvas like it was earlier, dip your brush in water, and that'll help with the paint on it. That'll help. It waters down your paint, but it also makes it go onto the canvas better. See, that's going so much better than it did earlier. Whenever I was trying, it wasn't really doing much. But all you have to do, and this is my dirty water, but you just very lightly dip like the end of your paintbrush in there, not all the way, just the tip of it, and then go back to your paint and just get your paint like diluted with that water a little bit. It'll flow better for you. Let's see. So now I'm gonna go ahead and do some of my other branches here. And once we get the basic branches, and it looks like I'm wiping some of my chalk off whenever I'm bearing my hand up against the side of the canvas to keep my hand steady. So some of my chalk lines have disappeared now because I wiped them off with my hand, the side of my hand. So I'm going to have to try to remember. Let's see, I think I had one about here, somewhere over here, yeah. And the chalk will get onto the end of your paintbrush too as you're painting. So you can just take it over to your palette and just kind of wipe it off a little bit. It'll be alright. Yeah, a lot of chalk is coming off on my paintbrush here. Okay, so I probably really should go ahead and switch over. I'll go ahead and finish up the bigger parts of the tree first, and then I'll switch. Just gonna show y'all. And even though I drew it straight out, you kind of want it to come out like this. That's just giving you an idea of where you wanted your branch. So you always want to make it a little bit bigger and more curved instead of straight out from the tree. More and more chalk's getting on there. And if you notice it being just kind of not really filled in real good, that's okay. You're going to be able to go back and fill in these lines better once you kind of draw the basics of your limbs in. And I'm coming over here where y'all probably can't see. Oh, yeah, I'll have to use my smaller brush. So I'll quit doing that side. And if you ever notice, let's see, that you have trouble getting to certain parts of your canvas, it's always fine to go ahead and turn it if you need to. And this has kind of got mine down right now because let me move this out of the way so I can turn my canvas. There we go. So I could turn it this way on its side, and it can make it a little bit easier when drawing. Let's see. I'm kind of filling that in a little bit more because I can see the blue from my canvas through my tree there. Oops. Try to move that where my paintbrush doesn't hit the camera. And I'm constantly dipping my brush in my water to thin out. I'm so sorry. You might hear my dog grunting in the background. She's trying to make her bed. She's got a dog bed that she's trying to get comfortable in. She's not real happy with it right now. So she's digging and digging and grunting and grunting. So sorry. Oh, Lucy. Now she's attacking her bed. She's silly. I can't kick her out of the room because she would just sit at the door and bark. So we have to put up with her being in the room here with us while I'm doing this. She's not one to stay away from me for some reason. She's entertaining herself right now. So, sorry if it's making a lot of noise. Hopefully she's not. Having fun, Lucy? Alright, let's see here. I'll go on and do my next big branch. And this probably is one of the most time-consuming parts of this whole thing, besides doing the grass too. Drawing the tree in. I'm just constantly going back and getting more paint. because it's all right. There we go. And hopefully this summer, I'm hoping we will get to, since we're still going to be closed for a while, some of these programs that I'm doing like this, I'm thinking we're going to be able to provide not just paint and canvases, but possibly paintbrushes too, that you can come and pick up. And you would get to keep the paintbrushes though, because they don't want us taking things back into the library. And plus, with the paintbrushes, we'd constantly have you having to come back and get them again. So it's easier just to give them out to go along with the projects that we're doing, and just let y'all have like a basic set of brushes. So if y'all wanted to follow along with the painting programs that I do, and we'll be giving probably some fabric away also to do some sewing projects. So if you've got a sewing machine at home, you would be able to come and get the fabric for the project. Let's see. Alrighty, let's see here. Trying to steady my hand here without touching the canvas too much. And I'm gonna try to get some more paint on here without it picks up a lot of that chalk on the tip of it. And I'm trying to, well, not being very successful at it, but I'm trying to load the paint onto just the tip of my paintbrush, but not too much of it. It's kind of like a fine line of not enough and too much, so it will go further when I'm drawing my lines. Let's see here. Oops, I'm making that limb a lot bigger, which I probably really should, because that's one of the lower limbs. So, and I think I'm running out of my black paint, my black and brown paint that I mixed together. Let's see here if I can make this bigger, because it should be. It really should be a bigger limb. And then try to make it smaller as it goes to the end here. That's the main thing about limbs. As long as you can make them bigger and then smaller, that's the main thing. I think that might be, I don't know if I can get away with my smaller brush here now or not, but I will probably need to, let's see, try to finish this one up a little bit, and this, I never did fill in my trunk very good. Alrighty. Trying to get these bigger parts done first. I hate going back and forth from small brush to big brush. wondering if I have to look ever so often. Oops, made that one kind of big, didn't I? And to see if I'm painting off the area where y'all can see, because I'm looking around the camera to paint. Let's see here. Alright, I know this part. So, I know when I was doing it by myself before the other one, it seemed to take forever to just paint the tree. Oops, keep making it bigger and bigger. Okay, I think I'm going to try to switch brushes. I'm going to rinse this one out so I can have a little more control over what I'm doing. Looks like it was trying to glop up on there. Okay, so I'm doing the same thing. I'm just rinsing out my brush and then I'm wiping off the excess water. And I'm going to switch to this really smaller round brush. And I'm probably going to need more paint. So I'm going to use this to mix my paint rather than this right here. Instead of, so I'm going to drag more of the brown paint and then I'm going to get a little bit of black. And I'm doing it in the same area that I mixed my brown paint earlier, so I'm trying to make sure that it's about the same blend, which it looks like I'm going to need more brown. I might have to put more brown on my thing here. Let's see, because it looks like yeah, I think that's going to work. Unless I'm just going to get some more brown paint too, because I'll need more of it later, because I'll need some of it to mix with my green whenever I do my little grassy knoll, because you'll need it to be kind of dark. Let's see, so I'm going to get more of that brown and mix it in with what I'd already mixed. Actually, I'm just going to mix it all. Yeah, I think that's going to be good. And I'm going to rinse off this. It's nice to have one of these to mix your paint with so you don't get it all over your paintbrush whenever you're mixing your paints. Okay, so I'm going to go back. And now that I got my paint all mixed together here, I'm going to load the end of my brush up with paint. And now I'll be able to do some of the more smaller type details and so forth. Even though I haven't glopped on there right now. If you want to have the really tiny, bunch of tiny branches, you can. This particular one we're doing, you don't necessarily have to have a lot of tiny branches on it, because we're going to have those buttons on there. So it just really depends on how much, if you want really small details, a lot of small details on there, you can. But it's completely up to you on how you want yours to look. I'm having the same problems I have with the other one. That chalk, I almost wish that I had not drawn so many chalk lines, because that tends to cause problems. That chalk gets on the end of my paintbrush. Let's see. I just want to fill this in. Okay. And even though the picture I went off of had a lot more branches, I decided not to do that with mine because I was a little paranoid about, you know, the placement of my buttons and stuff, and if I'd have enough room to do it and so forth. So, but you can always go back and add branches. That's the thing. So don't really worry too much about that. Oh, my camera decided to fall forward as I was doing this. I guess I had not tightened it up good. Let's see here. Well, alright. It's so weird how loose this is. Alright. So, trying to hurry up and do this so you can see how to do the rest of this. I thought if I used a slightly smaller canvas that maybe I would finish faster so I could show y'all. I guess I would have really had to gone with a quite a bit smaller. This is smaller than the one I used for the previous one, but it's not a lot smaller. It's just a little bit smaller. Okay, and don't worry about the chalk on there, because we can always go back and get it off of there with some water. I'll show you how to erase the chalk lines. I think I'm going off where y'all can't see anymore, so I'm going to turn this. I think I'll come back here since I've gotten the smaller one. Okay. That made it a lot wider than what I wanted it to be, but let me just fill it in. I'm having a hard time filling it in. My brush is not cooperating. Like that branch is not as wide as this one, so I gotta make it at least just as wide. Otherwise it doesn't look right. I guess I shouldn't be concentrating on that so much. It looks okay. Okay. So I did actually earlier wipe off a branch here because I thought that was an awful big area with nothing in it. So we'll just have to add a branch in there so it doesn't look so empty. I like to make mine very curvy. I think, though, it's because the first trees I ever made, the video I was watching, that's what they did. She made hers very, very curvy type branches. Alright, I'm having to keep dipping my brush into water to make my paints be more fluid for me. Boy, this is taking forever. I'm like in a big hurry for some reason. Okay, so, oops. Alright, I'm gonna have to. I'm rinsing my brush off because I got it way loaded down with paint, so I should have offloaded it onto my palette here instead of just rinsing it off, but I got a little frustrated. Okay. Alright, that looks a little weird because it's bigger than the other part, isn't it? Nobody's watching. Okay. Nobody's watching, but that's okay. Need to do simpler projects here that don't take as long. Right? Something quick and easy. I guess I'll come back later when I'm almost done or doing something different. Okay. Yeah, I got paint on my hand and got it on there. Oh well. That's a kind of an ugly branch, in my opinion. Let's see if we can make it look a little bit better. Need to make it a little bit thicker because it has to be a little bit thicker, otherwise at the beginning, otherwise then this looks weird. And then we'll just make it curve out that way, and then do another branch out this way. Okay, there we go. So we're going to try to finish that out there, and then, oh, I was in such a big hurry. Didn't realize I had not finished this side. And anytime you make it a little too big, just go and fill it out a little bit, and that'll be alright. And then you have to extend out the branch just a little bit. Can't be quite that thin. If you want it to be more realistic anyway, but it doesn't have to be. And I keep pressing too hard at the end, and that's why the branch is getting too thick at the end. So I'm gonna, oopsie, not really what I wanted, but I'm gonna make it work. That's the thing about the paintbrushes. It does exactly what you, not what you mean to do, but it does what you do because of how hard you press down the paintbrush. Oops. Because the more pressure you apply, the thicker your line's going to get. And I wasn't meaning to do that, but that's what happens. Getting control over how you do your brush strokes takes a lot of time and practice, and how steady of a hand you have. And you have to be careful about where you rest your hand to get your hand steady, because you might set it down in something wet. I do that pretty often because I'll be getting in a hurry and not paying attention. Oops. I'm going to make that one a little bit thicker because the other one is. And the end of that is bigger than the beginning, so I'm trying to even that out a little bit. Alright. A little more paint for that to show up. Alright. So that side's kind of filled in. So we're going to fill in this side, and then yay, we'll be able to do the grass. Alright, I'm going to have to move this camera where I can get to this better. Sorry. I'm going to put y'all off to the side so I can get closer to the canvas. And hopefully not keep hitting it with my paintbrush. Okay. Got more chalk on the end of my brush there. I notice when I drag down, a little more control. Let's see. And something neat I want to show you. You can drag off the excess and then roll the tip of your brush, oops, into the paint. just to get, you know, what you want on there to make it a little more control. Oops. I'm going to move you guys, let's see, further away. So maybe I'll quit hitting again. Alright. And I need to make that branch a little bit wider because it's not consistent. There we go. And then we need to draw this branch in. And since that branch ended up being bigger, I'm needing to make this bigger to make it work. Okay. See how I made that one bigger? I'll have to make my main branch just a tiny bit bigger because that's not proportioned correctly. It wouldn't be able to hold the weight. And then I'm going to dip my brush in the water to thin my paints out again. Because every time the paint flow is not as good anymore, it always helps to thin it out with some water. I guess I'll sit back down again. I was standing to try to get a better angle on it. Let's see. Might not have been good placement of my branch there because it's kind of close to the other ones, but alright, so let's see. Okay. Oh, did I get my, yep, I did sit my hand in paint. Not a good thing. I might scoot this over just a tad bit. we go. I was making the end a little too thick, so I needed to make this branch a little bit thicker. Let's see if we can not hit paint here. I didn't mean to do that branch, but since, oh wow, since I'd already accidentally did it, I thought I'd go ahead and, rather than try to cover it up later. Try to make it a happy accident, right? Isn't that what Bob Ross usually would say? Alright, so I'm going to just kind of fill those in a little bit more, and then we will do the grass. Thank goodness. Let's see. I'm going to try some more water. Well, I just can't get a good flow going here. So I'm going to try to offload my brush and see if I can get some more paint on the end here. I'm trying not to get tangled up in my cords here. I'm going to take this down and actually do it like this. See if I can get a better control. There we go. Flowing a little bit better. Make that branch a little bit thicker. Just can't quite get that branch looking the way I want it to. I'm going to be done with this. Alright, so we've got the tree. I'm going to set it back so you can kind of see. I've got the basics of the tree in there. Now that we've got that painted in, what you could do is you can get a little bit of white and mix it in with your brown, and we can do a few highlights in the tree. Just little streaks of highlights just throughout, which that's probably not enough for it to show up. It looked a lot lighter on my palette here than the way it looked on the canvas, but just do some streaks to just kind of give your tree some highlights. Nothing real big, just little ones. you know, you can just kind of see. And it'll, once you put your buttons on here, it'll add to the look of the tree. Having some highlights. It's like, you know, the light hits it different ways. And it's not a lot. I'm just doing the little, just little streaks. And I'm going to get my brush wet. All these wires are just not being nice to me. Okay, just streaking it here and there. And all I did was add a little bit of white to the brown that I already had mixed. And I'll show you again. It's just this lighter color right here. Try not to touch the canvas where the paint is wet to help steady my hand. And you can do this with that 3D paint I was talking about too. Just kind of streaking it through here. I think that's good enough. We've got our highlights. And then I'm going to rinse my brush off because we're going to do the grass. We'll need the bigger brush to do that. Okay, and probably move this a little bit and tilt it where you can see the grass area better, since that's what I'm going to be concentrating on. I'm going to use my bigger brush to do that, and I'm going to mix, let's see, I don't have any green left because it was all mixed in with my blue, so I'm going to get some green and let's see, I still have, I'm going to mix the brown and black I had left over from the other stuff. So I'm going to get some of my green and put it there, and what's left of my dark brown, and I'm going to mix it together, which I don't have as much left as what I thought. Okay. But I'm just making a dark green with that. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to just use that to do the bottom. So I'm just painting this bottom area, this dark green. It's just green mixed with the brown. I think I'm going to turn it upside down because I want to paint the bottom. I'm going to turn this where you can see it better. I'm going to dip my brush in the water. Okay, try not to move the camera too much. Actually, Just gonna stand up and I keep knocking my towel on the floor. So, and I'm gonna paint the bottom of my canvas too. While I'm at it, this greenish blue color. Or not, well, it's greenish brown, not greenish blue. Okay. I could have used one of my other brushes, but this one will cover the canvas a lot faster. And make it a little more wet. We just want this dark green color for the ground to do our heel, and then we'll be painting our grass on it in a minute. Okay, there's that. I'll rinse that off. Alrighty, so we got the grass, and it really doesn't matter how well that's painted because your grass is going to be going over it. So we did that, and we're going to have to blow dry it to be able to paint our grass on there. So I'm going to do that real quick. I think I got that blow dried good. Hey Violet, oh well, you were there for a moment. Okay, so we got that blow dried. Now I'm tilting this back where we can see the grass area, and we're going to be painting our grass. You take your larger brush and wet it down, and we're going to use initially just our straight green, and then later on we'll mix a little bit of yellow in with it. We're going to do some layers, but I'm going to get a little bit of yellow, so I'll be ready for that part. So we're going to take this bright green here, and okay, let's see here. You're just going to be doing like flicks of grass here, big flicks of it like that. And they'll go in different directions, some big, some small, but you just want to cover up the whole thing down here. I wish my brushes were not so tall or long that they kept hitting the thing here, but okay. So you're just going to fill it in with grass, and whenever you're doing this, you press hard and then you lighten up when you get, it's kind of like a flick motion that you're doing. And I'm going to have to move this forward so I can get around from behind it. I think I just, yep. Alright, so, and then occasionally you will need to put your paintbrush in water to kind of help with the flow of the paint. This is so awkward with the, alright, there we go. Like those little tiny, yeah, this is much better. And I did that mostly on the top, and then you want to do it throughout the entire thing. So just continue to fill in with your grass, just going in different directions. And then we'll come back and do some mixing with the yellow and doing gosh, I'm just gonna have to move this further away because I keep hitting the camera with this paintbrush. And be sure to do some of your paint strokes in the tree area because, you know, I guess it's not going to show up as much because of the, I'm going to use a little more paint. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to get a little bit of yellow, actually a lot of yellow, a lot more yellow, and then I'm probably going to grab a little bit of white over here to mix with it. I'm going to get more, come on, yellow. I want it to be more yellowy color. And then the more paint you get on the end there, the bigger the more the color will show up. Okay, we're almost done, and then we'll get to, I'm going to get a little more water on here, and then we'll be able to do the buttons. Okay. Just doing kind of a flicking motion to get that in there. Ooh, that was not quite what I wanted it to do, but that's all right. Still go with it. Just kind of fill it in until you're happy with your grass. I think I'm done with that. All right. So once you got that done, you rinse off your brush and you're done with this. But what we're going to go back and do is just take the chalk off of the tree area where you did your tree. So I'm rinsing my brush off, and then I got a little detail brush that I haven't used at all, so it didn't have any paint on it. So I'm going to wipe off the chalk area by dipping it in water, and it will wipe off your chalk. Alright, and this is going to be this part. A little more water. Could even use your finger if you wanted to. I would have used a bigger brush, but my other ones were so dirty, I really didn't want to use them. Alright, and when you're doing the buttons, you're going to need to lay this down to be able to line them up the way you want them. So I'm going to move things around a little bit. Get this out of the way. I don't think I needed this anyway. I almost thought I needed my tablet earlier. I'm going to move this and lay it on my table. Move that out of the way. Sorry, my puppy dog was on the floor. She was in the way, so I'm going to straighten this up. Bring this up. Probably bring it up some more, and then it'll help me figure out this part. Alright. Okay. So hopefully this won't tip over. This is kind of heavy this way. Alright, so now we've got that part done. The bottom is drying still, but that's okay. And then over to the side I've got buttons. You don't want to use anything that's clear. So Bigger buttons are always good to do on the very ends. You don't want the same colors next to each other. Just kind of, you're going to scatter them. And if you have a big area, let's see, sometimes filling it in, you mostly just want to vary them. And then, let's see. And see how I'm using different colors near each other instead of the same colors. Do you want to avoid that? Let's see. And vary the sizes too. Like, so those are different ones. I'll throw in some white. And try to make sure that you're putting the flat side down on the canvas, because some of these buttons, one side's flat and one's got some kind of stuff on there. So you don't want, that one's got a little design on it. I don't know if that would be a little bit, I've got a lot of pink ones here. But you want to vary them up. And don't use clear buttons on here, because the clear buttons won't show up at all. You'll be able to see right through them. I've got a few white ones. They look okay on here. Some gray ones look alright. But you want to vary them up a bit. I've got purples, but you don't want a whole bunch of, like, you don't want to put two purples together. You want to vary up the colors, the ones that are right next to each other. This one's a kind of almost a see-through one, but it actually kind of, well, actually no, it doesn't show up very well. So kind of lay them on there to see how well they show up. I think the light is kind of messing with it a little bit, but I've got mostly kind of pastels with this one. The other one I did was a lot brighter. Look at your buttons, like that one's the side that's got a concave on it. You want the flat side on there is what you want. And if you want some square ones, you could do that. I decided to do all round ones. I think the different shaped ones would be cute too. Just vary them up quite a bit, because see, those two look really similar. You don't really want the same colors right next to each other. And I have a whole bunch of buttons just laying off to the side here. And you want, let's see if I can find some tiny ones. Like those, you know, you have 3 different sizes right there together, and that's good. And different colors together. Like I said, don't do any clear ones. They won't show up very good. Even if they're colored, if you can see right through them, they won't show up on your canvas very good. These white ones, since they're not see-through, they actually show up okay. So, but like, I don't know. Yeah, those look okay together. And just kind of play with them, laying them around on there. You don't want to like get a bunch of yellows together. That's 2 yellows, but they might be okay. Those two look a little too... You may end up noticing you need to switch them up a bit as far as the order that you go in. Let's see, I need a little green. Sometimes you need to add a little bit different color. I think I'm going to switch that one up. Sometimes you don't know until you place them how they're going to look. Let's see. And you can switch them up a bit. But that's basically how you do this part. Once you lay out all of your buttons and vary, like I said, vary the different sizes around each other. Like maybe those 2 are the same size. Let me grab this big orange one and throw there instead. Maybe I don't want it there. Maybe, let's see, let's do that and then do a little yellow one with it. Mixing them up, the sizes together is great. So stuff like that. And just kind of play with it. And that, another big one there. I don't know if I like another big one there. Maybe slightly smaller, but you go, oh wait, it's another purple. Maybe let's do the orange. And then, hey, I don't have a green over here. Let's do a big green. You know, kind of do that. And I don't have any white over here, so let's do some white. But you just, that's the basics of it. You want to make sure that you have different size buttons together, different colors. Try to keep them separated. And you're mostly going for the ends of the trees here that you don't want to be just putting them down here in this main branch. You want it to be actually around a branch when you're doing it. Let's see, that doesn't have any purple there. You want it all around a branch area. Like this is in this part, but that's okay. Let's see here. Throw another one. And sometimes you can't fit different sizes in there. Or maybe that should go up there instead, in this area. You know, if it may not work, you may want to put it over here instead. And I think a different color would work there. Let's see. Let's try a purple. Slightly bigger than the one that I did before. And make sure you're getting the flat side on there, because it'll be harder to glue down if you don't. Let's throw that down in there. And if you can find some really tiny, sometimes sneak in some really tiny ones in there. That's why it's good to find different sizes to work with, because the more that you vary it, the better. And that one's, I had something on it, but it fell off. Let's see here. And you'll notice you'll go for certain colors more. And I just put my finger in the wet paint. But once you laid out all of your buttons to exactly where you'd like to have them, then you can take either Mod Podge or Elmer's glue. And if you do the Mod Podge, if you have some of these cheap little paintbrushes like this is awesome way to glue them down. You just dip the tip of it in there. I'm only going to do a few here. Like, let's do this one. And a lot of times just tapping on the canvas and making sure it's a nice amount of glue, and then dropping it on top and tapping it in place. That works really great. If you try to put the glue on the back of the button and then put it down there, you'll end up dropping it. I did that a lot when I was doing my other one. So depending on how big your button is, on how much, you know, you want glue-wise you want to put down there. The Mod Podge does end up looking white initially, but once it dries clear. So it works really well. And if you want to tap it into place, just use the end of your paintbrush. And that's it. That's how you do it. Like I said, just kind of, you want to concentrate around just the branch areas of where you're putting them. I'll show this one again so you can kind of see. And different sizes, varying them around. Just don't put them like way down in here where there wouldn't be any leaves and stuff, where typically you wouldn't have leaves, and that it'll look fine. And see, using different color ones work really well too. Oh, thank you, Paula. But and you can use I saw, let's see, I'll show you the one I found online. That one, it uses all different colors, even some wooden buttons and stuff like that. And they used all different color schemes too. So you can really do whatever you want. Use as many colors you want, or stay with a certain colors. But just be sure that you have enough different colors that you're not going to get stuck with getting some of a lot of the same colors next to each other. Unless you want to have a button tree that's a two-tone one, that would be really cool, or maybe 3 colors. You could do that too. Really, that would look awesome also. So there you go. That's the how you do this. Like I said, if you want to go back and use some 3D paint, this is the kind I found at Walmart. It's by Puffy, and it's just 3D paint, and you can use it to do outlines on the tree or do more of the 3D effect on the grass, like I did with this one. But it doesn't show up really well, so, and it goes pretty flat on, honestly. It's just a little shiny. So if you want to do the extra work and you like that effect, go right ahead. If you don't want to do that extra, then don't do it. It'll work and look just as cute. So that's it for this time. Let me see. Switch this back up. And let's see. If I could switch this back over. Hello. So next week I will be doing a sewing machine cover, and I kind of showed that last week of what it would look like. Just have a, sorry, accidentally grabbed the microphone and yanked on it, the wire connecting to my camera, and we'll do that next week. Saturday I'm doing a painting of the, it's a Baby Yoda or the child, whatever. If you've seen the Mandalorian television show on Disney, it's called The Child. It's not called Baby Yoda, but everyone calls it Baby Yoda. So anyway, I found a sketch that someone had done of him, and I turned it into like a painting. And I don't think it'll take too long to do if you want to do that one. And it's going to be at 7 o'clock on Saturday. We're doing it this week because it's this week's kind of like a Star Wars week. Like, I think Monday was May the 4th be with you, and the 5th was something, the 6th, 7th, 8th, and the 9th is also something Star Wars related. So that's why we're doing that. And then Friday, tomorrow at 1 o'clock, if you're brand new to a sewing machine and need to know the basics of how to use your machine, come join me at 1 o'clock. Or if you know somebody that's new to buying a sewing machine, because I've noticed that every time I go in Walmart, they're getting wiped out. People are buying all their sewing machines up, so apparently there's a lot of new people out there with sewing machines that they've never sewed before, that they might need some basic help on how to use your machine, how to troubleshoot it when it's doing things that you don't understand, how to wind the bobbins, how to thread it, just a lot of basic stuff that you don't have a clue about in the beginning when you first get a sewing machine. You don't understand how it all works. That's the way I was for quite a while with my sewing machine, until I had someone help me that was a quilter that gave me some basic knowledge that really helped a lot. Don't be afraid of your machine. You got to use it to get used to it, but come join me at 1 o'clock if you want to learn some basics about it. And I'm going to do that every week as long as there's people interested in seeing that. So until tomorrow or Saturday or next Thursday, that's all. See y'all later. Bye.